Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy show. We are back again. We're doing part two of a financial conversation. We're here with Martin and Chelsea Matthews, the power couple that I've been telling you about, our financial planners, advisors. We're talking about solving financial problems in your marriage. And we talked yesterday about the top five issues that most couples struggle with, one of which is finances. So we're going to do a deep dive today and give you the answers to questions that you've been struggling with. But before we get started, make sure you take the time to like, share, and subscribe. Let your community know that we are here so that we can engage them in our conversation. Also, last chance weekend coming up May 19th through the 21st. Please do not miss that. It is going to be something that you do not want to miss out on because it's going to be transformational for your relationship. One of the things that we actually do talk about, not in depth, but we do talk about finances because we realize that it is an emotional need and it has caused a strain. And whenever a betrayal happens, whenever infidelity happens, financial infidelity is one of the things that we oftentimes unpack. And not only does it create trust issues as it relates to, I can't trust you with a member of the opposite sex, I can't trust you with our money. And so we might as well segue into that. We're talking about financial problems. One of the things that I've seen many couples struggle with is trust, the lack of trust. And so, talk to us a little bit. We kind of touched on it a little bit yesterday. How important is trust, honesty, and transparency in the realm of finances within a marriage?
It is the most important thing. But beyond being able to trust your partner, I was thinking about what we were talking about yesterday and some of the things that I shared with some trust issues that I had and bad relationships in the past. What it really came down to is not that I didn't trust him, I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself to make good decisions because I made bad decisions with bad relationships before. And so it really comes down to first being able to trust yourself to make good decisions about your partner and make good decisions about money and in communication. So if you find yourself not trusting your partner, it really starts from being willing to take full responsibility. Like I had to look at, okay, I want to be in a relationship that I trust my partner, but I have to also trust myself that I'm making good decisions. So I had to look at what do I think and feel about my own decisions before I even start to put any blame over there. And so that's something that I think it's easy to point fingers and it's easy to look at the other party, but we really have to look at, do we trust ourselves to make good decisions?
Absolutely. I think that's awesome. Listen, with that in mind, when it comes to good decisions, I think it's important that we talk about debt. Debt is something that really can cripple a person's life and relationship. And so, whether we're talking about student loans, car loans, credit cards, gambling habits, or just not being wise in how you use your money, it can create a considerable amount of debt. And what we have found, like with a lot of couples we work with, Martin, is that one partner is the one racking up all the bills, right? And the other one is more conservative. And it often leads to a lot of fighting in that relationship because not only do I have to deal with this large bill, the impact on the credit, it takes away finances that we need to handle other obligations in our lifestyle, in our household. So let's talk about this issue of debt and how do we solve that problem?
Well, I think there's agreements people need to have. Chelsea and I have agreements, like, for example, there's certain amounts that she could spend and do different things that she doesn't need to ask me about. So it's same thing when it comes down to debt. If you have agreements that say, okay, we're going to handle our debts, we're not going to add any bad debt. And there's a difference between what I call bad debt and good debt. So bad debt would be things on your credit cards for shoes, shopping trips, all these different things that you're borrowing money, you're financing that. So you need to understand what the cost is for it. Something that may be considered good debt, maybe you may want to buy property, you may want to buy assets. Maybe you guys want to get together, buy something like an Airbnb, and you may need to finance this. That's an example of good debt. Once you have those agreements, when you have agreements, that becomes what we call policy. So we have policy in our business and in our finances. Once you got policy, then either people you're on policy or you're off policy. If the policy is we do this, this, and this, then that's the policy. And then you can easily recognize the policy creates agreement because like, okay, so this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to handle things. This is how we're going to do it. But the debt itself can be a burden and is an undue burden in your relationship because it can cause stress in your household, which impacts other emotional needs that you have. All these different things can impact your stuff. So you want to make sure the debt thing is properly handled from a conversation point of view, from an agreement point of view, so that you know what policies you're using for yourself in your marriage when it relates to debt.
Well, you mentioned something about good debt. Now, that may be a foreign concept to a lot of people because it almost seems like an oxymoron. How could debt be good? Some would say that debt is the devil's salary, and it ensnares us. So, you mentioned Airbnb, you mentioned real estate. Tell us what is good about taking on real estate because as we look at the market, many people have lost their homes. Many people lose their homes every day, and they would consider that bad debt. So, unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, so debt simply means something owed. In our current society, debt doesn't have to be owed by you, the individual. So a lot of times people think about debt being owed by the individual. For example, we have different companies. I can set up a company that's now its own entity. That company can go and acquire financing or debt to buy a property. Doesn't mean I personally owe that money. Means my company owes that money. My company borrowed that money. So if I set up a LLC as a company, and then that my company goes and buys a property, and then we have a tenant in there that's paying down the debt, I personally don't have any debt in that scenario. My company has the debt, and my tenant in the Airbnb or my tenant in that property is helping to pay down the debt. So technically, I'm not coming out of pocket any money. I'm actually profiting by using the bank's money to buy this asset that's going to put money into my pocket. And I'm providing a service to somebody who wants to rent a house or somebody who wants to use it for Airbnb. And I would not be able to achieve that had not used financing. Maybe financing is a prettier word than debt, but essentially that's what it is. We just call it good debt because it allows me to buy an asset that's going to put money into my pocket. So good debt allows you to have assets to put money in your pocket. Bad debt is take your money out of your pocket because now you got to pay that credit card back for the shopping trip that you did, or all these things you spent money on that were trinkets and weren't going to end up making you any money. You still have to pay on that. So that's kind of the difference with good debt, bad debt, and my understanding of it. It comes down to how you use it and then who's paying for it.
So, debt, one of the things that debt impacts if you're not handling it well, if it's bad debt, is your credit, right? So, you have this thing called a FICO score, and many people's decisions are determined by their FICO score. What they can purchase determined by their FICO score. The quality of life oftentimes is determined by their FICO score. So, what do you say to those individuals who, don't have good FICO scores? They have bad credit or no credit. How can they begin to turn things around? Because that has also placed limitations on a lot of homes throughout this country.
The first thing you have to do is confront it. Like a lot of people, especially in relationships, you don't go on a first date and ask, hey, what kind of debt do you have? What's your credit score? That's usually not a conversation. And so it usually comes up when maybe a couple is trying to make a financial decision together, maybe buy a home, a car, and then they find out some of these things that are not so positive on your credit score. I talk about a lot of bad relationship experiences. I had a time where I dated somebody who I didn't know had kids. And they're on their credit score, I thought they had some medical bills, and it turned out it was child support. So that was not a conversation that we had ahead of time. And so it really is important to have these conversations to confront like what is on your credit. A lot of times there's things that are old or even incorrect on your credit. So it's really important to get your credit score and get your credit report so you can see, hey, is everything on here accurate? And are there anything that I could request to be taken off that's not correct or maybe old? And then the things that are accurate on there, then you start putting a plan together. Okay, what's it going to take to get these paid off? Can I negotiate any of them? And then putting a diligent plan in place that you're in agreement together, and then start working on it and be working towards a plan to increase your credit. But it can be a very emotional and hard and embarrassing thing sometimes to look at. But the very first thing is to confront it and be willing to take those steps.
Guys, we're talking about financial problems in your marriage and how to overcome them. You're watching Martin and Chelsea Matthews, who's joining us today. This is the Couples Academy Show. We're going to go to a quick break and come back with more complicated situations. I want to see how they're going to kind of walk us through that. Stay right there.
What is the best gift or investment for a newly engaged couple?
What do couples really need? Proactive, transparent, synergy. They need to synthesize a 12-week premarital group counseling experience that combines the mind, heart, mission, and vision for an effective future.
No matter the age or life experience, this research-based curriculum will help to increase marriage resilience by 30%. Why choose Synthesize for premarital counseling? 1, to better understand yourself and your partner and to audit your past and present condition in order to be a proactive couple.
2, to engage in crucial conversations about finances, communication, sex, and intimacy, to be fully and completely transparent.
3, to develop a unified vision and mission in order to embody high levels of synergy.
Give the gift that builds proactive, transparent synergy. Synthesize.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
Guys, we're back. We're talking about finances today, an important topic, an important conversation that we have to constantly bring up until couples begin to experience breakthrough in this area of their lives. I have a situation I want to talk to you about. There's a couple. They are both from Africa. However, they live in the United States. And the challenge that they're dealing with is how they properly utilize their money. Okay, so they have two different priorities. The husband has a desire to take a lot of his income and reinvest it in the country where he's from to build infrastructure, to really advance the legacy of his people. Whereas the wife says, well, we have children, we have a lifestyle here, and money should be going here. And so they're at odds about how to navigate through this. And I think independent decisions have been made in terms of where the money is gone, and it has created a huge situation in their marriage. So I want you to speak specifically to this situation, because you're from Africa, so you have family here, but also you have family in the motherland. So there's that emotional, cultural connection. So I want you to speak specifically to that, but then in a larger perspective, speak to couples who have different priorities about what to do with their finances and how to properly navigate through that.
Yeah, so I was born in Liberia, West Africa, and it's very common that people who come to America end up taking care of their families back home. We took care of my grandmother 100%. She needed a nurse. She needed all these different things. And her entire livelihood was dependent on us sending her money and all kinds of different things like that. I've got people who reach out to me all the time asking for help financially from back home. So I had to discuss that with Chelsea because it was not something she was used to. So I had to explain to her culturally, this is how it is, and this is sometimes expected of me. And so we started to get to a general agreement. One of the things that we do is we have different accounts for different purposes. So we put money into a giving account, or we put money into accounts for that specific purpose. And so the goal is we work hard, we try to produce, and then we put money into that account. And so that account is specifically there for those kinds of things. And when that account runs low or is empty, it doesn't mean I don't have any money. It means my money is not, the money I have is earmarked for other purposes. There's no money for that specific purpose anymore. So that created an agreement. We decided how much we're going to put into that specific account, and that's it. And I tell people that. I'm very transparent about that. If they ask me for help, I say, look, I've got an account that I put money into, and somebody else reached me before you, and it's gone towards that. And now I've got to go replenish that account before I can distribute anything else from it. So they understand. Usually when I tell them about that, they understand and they know I'm serious about it. And then Chelsea can probably speak a little bit more on her perspective on that and how couples can work those pieces out together.
Well, I think that understanding where each other's coming from is very important. In our book, we tell a story that we call the burger story. And it's a very small example of what you're talking about. And just to explain really quickly, one time Martin and I went to dinner. This was very early in our relationship, and we were treating a friend to dinner, and I had a specific budget that I wanted to spend and not go past. And Martin was not really in agreement with that. And I thought, well, maybe we could share something, or, this is in a tighter time of our relationship and finances. And he just wasn't having it. He wanted to order what he wanted to order. He didn't want to listen to me. And it felt like he did not care what was important to me or the family. And he went ahead and ordered whatever he wanted. And we were in an argument for like 3 days. And I thought, oh my God, if he's going to do what he wants for this little spending, how are we ever going to come to agreement in big financial decisions? And really it came to talking about why was it so important that he had what he wanted? Well, he explained to me that growing up in a war, they didn't always have, they didn't get to choose what they wanted. They had to eat what was in front of them. And so when he came to America, he was like, I'm going to enjoy what I want to eat. And so I thought, wow, that has nothing to do with putting our family at financial jeopardy. And for me, explaining to him, hey, I want to know that we have financial security. I want to spend less than we make, and I want to build up our reserves. Then he could see, wow, I'm not just trying to tell him what to do. So we could really understand the deeper reason for why those things were important to us. And from there, we could make agreements so that it could be a win-win.
What a phenomenal example, because, the deeper reason, see, it wasn't about the fact that he ate that particular meal. It's what the meal represented for him, is what that meal represented for you. And it was two completely different things. So this 3-day argument was really about a root issue, not the fruit issue. And I think that's where most people miss it. They're fighting over these trivial things, and they never get to resolve anything in their marriage, because they never get down to the root of it all. And I think, wow, what a perfect example that I'm sure many people could relate to. I have a question for you. I love the idea of creating buckets, if you will, and putting money in this bucket that we use to help family, friends, whatever the case may be. Do you base that upon percentages? Do you base that upon a dollar amount?
So we do it based on a percentage. So if I want to put more money in there, I have to go create more revenue in my business and my activities. And if I have less revenue, so let's say I have a month, and during that month, my business revenue is low, and so, or whatever, then I can't put more money in there, unfortunately, because that may put other things in jeopardy. So by putting a percentage, if I want to put more higher dollar amounts in there, it means I got to produce more. So it puts more emphasis on production, which is actually a good thing, because when you produce, you're exchanging with people, you're providing valuable services to the public. And so that's how I do it versus a dollar amount, because I don't want to be held specifically to that dollar amount, but I can put a percentage in there.
Got you. So the argument is overcome by saying it's not about this first, this second, this third. It's about how we just diversify and split up our money into different pockets. So that makes a lot of sense. I guess now the conversation would be, what percentages we can both agree to, because one may cause a problem, a issue to take much longer to resolve, and then another percentage can get it knocked out right away. But I think that's a discipline that's important. So on that note, because you know what, I understand culturally, when you're from another country, you're giving money back to those who are there because it's a different economy. But those here in the United States, a lot of times, once you start making a little bit of money, you start finding out family members you never even knew existed, right? And everybody's in line. So then how do you prioritize who you give money to? Is it based upon relationship? Is it based upon need? Is it based upon what your heart's telling you to do? Is there some process or system attached to that?
I look for exchange. I saw a post this morning actually where they were taking a picture of some messages that I gotten where somebody asked them for $50. Can you lend me $50? The guy said, well, I need my lawn mowed. So if you can come to my house and mow my lawn, I'll give you $100. And the person goes like, no, that's too much work. I'll pay you back. So I'm like, look for exchange. Okay. So somebody like want to borrow money and these kinds of different things. And I'm like, okay, well, what exchange, how can we make this so that this is an exchange? Is this something that you can do or something you can produce, something like that? So you actually feel good. The person who's getting the money also feels good. So that way it's a hand up. So I'm like, hey, I'll pay you for doing this task. And so we do that with our son. Before he started working, he wanted different things. We're like, okay, so if you do X, Y, Z things, we'll pay you for that. That's part of an exchange. So doing things that you can exchange. So look for, whenever we're looking to like provide that to somebody, we look for, okay, what kind of exchange? Now, of course, they could be in a position where it's an emergency. They can't really do something in exchange. Then you would look at it from that perspective. But I tend to either give people the money. I'm just going to give it to you. A lot of times we would lend people money and never pay it back. So I'm just going to look at, okay, I'm either going to give it to you or, we do some sort of exchange or something like that. And that's how I feel about it.
The power of exchange, there's wisdom in that. I'm sure a lot of people never even consider that creates a more mutually beneficial type of exchange between two parties. And you'd be surprised how many less people start asking you for money if they know they have to do something to get it, which just also speaks to other issues. But listen, guys, what a great conversation. We're going to cover, to me, what I would consider one of the biggest problems, the biggest challenges that couples struggle with, that if they don't take advantage of it right now, it can have a detrimental effect on their future. But listen, we're going to go to a quick break. You're watching the Couples Academy Show. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back.
Hey family, Hassani and Danielle here, and I want to tell you about the Phoenix Awards Gala happening on October 7th, 2023. Couples Academy is hosting its first annual Phoenix Awards Gala, a celebration of perseverance, patience, and persistence, focused on couples who have endured and overcome significant hardships in their marriages.
Nominees of this prestigious award will have come to the brink of destruction in their marriage without giving up, and are living a testimony to what is possible when two stand as one.
This is no ordinary gala. We are honoring 5 of the most resilient couples across the U.S. and abroad. And here's the most exciting part. You get to pick our nominees. And there's more. Wear your most exquisite gowns and black tie ensembles and prepare for a 50-foot red carpet, cocktail reception, dinner, live music, and dancing. We're going to raise the roof and the standard for marriages on October 7th, and we want you to be there.
For tickets, go to couplesacademy.org/events. All right, guys, we're back. You're watching the Couples Academy show. We're talking about financial problems in your marriage. And, listen, one of the biggest issues that I know never comes up, but becomes an issue later on in life is not being properly financially prepared for one's future. And so, obviously, when you're much younger, you have energy, you're focused on your work, you're focused on your career, you're making that money. But as you get older, the energy levels you have are different. The opportunities you have access to, possibly in the work or the job market, are different. And so, a lot of times, people are not prepared for retirement. And I think there was some statistic that said, and you probably know better than I, that once you reach a certain age, like 60 something years old, the average person that has less than $500 in their savings account. This is your world. Tell us about the importance of retirement and how most people aren't prepared and what they need to do about it.
So retirement is an interesting thing. It's a time where you should be in a position where you can make work optional. It's what how I refer to it, where if you don't work because you have to work, you start choosing a lot of different things you want to do, and you have resources to be able to do it. So retirement financially, you have the emotional aspects of retirement, but you have the financial side, which really comes down to cash flow. Because every day on this planet, it costs you a certain amount of money to run your life. There's a lifestyle you have. If you take your entire spending for your lifestyle and for the month, and you divide it by 30, that tells you how much it costs to run your lifestyle every single day. So that means your resources, your assets, your retirement accounts, whatever it is, needs to be able to produce that amount for you without you having to go out and actively earn it every single day. So if you don't know what those numbers are, they become a mystery. And a lot of people don't know what they are, and they don't monitor throughout to see how well they're doing. Get financial checkups along the way to say, well, am I on track for this target number? Do I even have a target number? And what is my game plan to produce this cash flow so I can make work optional? And so it's very important for you to put yourself in that position, because there's all kinds of things that you're not thinking about that come your way, like healthcare and retirement. Your body's not the same. Your body's a lot older. So you have things start going out and start aching a lot more than when you're in your 20s. So you can't handle things as well. So healthcare costs and retirement, most people are financially unprepared for retirement. Social Security is going to run out in about 10 years or so. Social Security funds are going to run out to where they can't pay full benefits. They'll have to pay reduced benefits. So if you're dependent on that, you have to start taking matters into your own hands and start planning more with your spouse. How do we strategize to make sure retirement is fruitful, is the way we want to live, and we have options? That's the biggest thing, because it's a new stage of life and you want to have as much options as possible.
So in a practical sense, I'm working on my job. What should I begin to do practically right now to set myself up for my future?
At a minimum, I think a person has to save at least 10% of their income. And if your lifestyle doesn't allow you to save 10% of your income, then you've got to figure out, how do I either increase my income or handle my expenses well enough so that I have that flow? And a 10% is the minimum. So what's your real target? You should be aiming for 20% or 30%. Now, I know that may sound unreal to a lot of people, because I can barely save the 10%. But that's where you want to be. If you able to start putting money away, start storing, create a surplus in your finances. If you don't have a surplus, meaning from what you spend and what you make, there's a difference. That's a surplus. So you have to start putting that away and then storing that money to buy assets that cash flow, meaning it puts money back into your pocket. A traditional way people like to do this is put money into retirement accounts. That's fine, you can do that, but the government has rules and when you can actually start using that money. And generally, you have to be much older in life before you start using that money. What if you want to buy real estate and you want to do it sooner? What if you want to buy real estate in the next year or next few years? Well, the retirement accounts are not really set up to help you do that efficiently. So then you need to find other ways that works for you. And so that's why you need to know what you're trying to do, what your goals are, and then create a plan that's specific to you and is not cookie cutter. Because a lot of financial plans are cookie cutter. You need something that's specific to you, but it starts with you being able to create a surplus and then store some of that money, minimum 10%, and then building from there.
As we end today's show, I want, because there's a lot of wisdom that you're sharing, and it makes a lot of sense. How can people find out more about the two of you, about the services you provide, and even, where to find your book?
You want to tell them about that?
Yeah, so our book is called Let's Fight About Money, and you can go to letsfightaboutmoney.com. You can get a digital copy or you can get a physical copy. And then you can also see some of our services that we provide if you go to mwealthgroup.com, M as in Matthews, mwealthgroup.com. And then if you want to follow us on Instagram, we post a lot of content and useful information, and you can actually reach out to us. If you would like. I'm at one Chelsea Matthews, and Martin is at one Martin Matthews.
And it's the numerical 1. So
number 1.
Yeah.
Okay. And some of the services that you provide in your firm.
So some of the services, overall, we do overall financial planning. So we help you map out your entire financial life, whether you're struggling with debt or whether you're looking at ways to build wealth, you want to buy real estate. We help you create a customized plan that fits for you. Not what everybody else in the world gets, but for you. And so we sit down with you and help you map out a plan to help you do that. And then we have tools, modern financial planning tools that can help you track your finances. We can help you track like over a dozen areas of your finances, everything from cash flow to debt to building wealth, building legacy, all of that, so that you know that you're on track and you can see measurable results. When it comes to finances has a lot to do with emotions and money. And so you need to handle the emotions well, and you need to handle the money well, and you need to measure how well your money's doing. And that's what we help our clients to do, so that they create measurable results that they can see. I'm increasing my net worth, I'm increasing my assets, I'm increasing my cash flow, and we can measure that and we can show them that.
One thing I'm excited about, getting finances together is critically important. But, what we have found is that a lot of couples have a desire to do something more powerful together as a couple. And oftentimes that's in launching a business. So on tomorrow's episode, part 3, we're going to be talking about couples who want to go on business together and how to shift out of being in a power struggle and how to truly become a power couple. So for all of you who are watching, who have a passion for something greater than what you're currently doing, tune in tomorrow as they unpack that. But until then, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of wisdom out of it. Listen, reach out to them. We use them personally. They are our advisors of choice for all financial matters. These are the people that you need to be going to. They are Couples Academy endorsed. And I say this all the time. People ask me, who would you recommend for this and for that? And I said, I've learned a long time ago, I do not recommend anybody, because I'm not going to be responsible for what doesn't work. But the only one outside of the Couples Academy practitioner team that I recommend are these two. So go to their website, read their books, take advantages of their services, and we'll see them tomorrow for part 3 of this financial conversation. All right, guys, have a good day.
Thank you.